In today's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast, I am going to show you a simple social media strategy to grow your business. So if you've been thinking social media is too hard, I'm going to simplify it for you today in the Steve Freeman Podcast.
You're listening to the Steve Freeman Podcast, the real, raw truth about the pursuit of success in music, business, and life. Here's your host, hit songwriter, multi-platinum selling producer, and serial entrepreneur, Steve Freeman.
Hey guys and girls, and welcome back to another episode. So good to be here with you. What are we in day 7,956 of self-distancing and social quarantining and everything else? I hope you guys aren't losing inspiration. We've got a great episode for you today, all about social media, because I get so many questions about social media, how to grow on social media, how to use it to grow your business. That's what we're going to talk about today. So strap in. Get ready to take some notes because it's going to be a great episode, one that I think you're going to get a lot out of. Before we get down to business today, please don't forget, follow me on social media at The Steve Freeman, everywhere on social media. Speaking of, since today's all about social media. And as far as the podcast is concerned, keep doing what you're doing. You're listening on Apple Podcast or iTunes. Please rate us 5 stars. And leave a written review. Keep us inside Apple's top 200 podcasts. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I would also love to have you join my inner circle. If you love little tips and tricks like this, you can get them delivered straight to your email inbox just by being a member of my inner circle. The podcast is always brought to you by the Artist Development Academy, artistdevelopmentacademy.com, where you can get the information, the access, and the guidance you need to be successful in your music business career. Monthly online courses. Members get access to our entire library of courses. Plus, you get access to the members-only live streams and webinars, discounts, all kinds of cool things just by being a member. Plus, we show you exactly how to take your career to the next level. So go check it out at artistdevelopmentacademy.com. All right. I cannot tell you the number of emails, questions, DMs that I get pertaining to social media. And even having a lot of conversations with artists that I work with or other songwriters or business people overall, they seem like they don't really understand social media. One of the things that I get a lot is, man, I just don't have time. Well, with what we're going through right now with the coronavirus, not having time is just simply not a good excuse because time, well, right now, it's all we have on our hands. And I've said before in videos and podcasts, you can be one of these people that just sees, if you can completely make your way all the way through Amazon, Prime Video and Netflix and Hulu and Disney Plus and Apple Plus and everything else plus, or you can see this as a major opportunity. And the things that you have said and used as an excuse up to this point of, I don't have time, now you've got time. And there's simply no excuse. One thing that I know will help you grow your business, no matter if you are in the music business, if you're a singer, songwriter, producer, artist, or if you're a real estate agent, or if you sell insurance, or you sell cars, it doesn't matter what your business is. Even during this period right now, you can be using social media and even putting social distancing to your advantage by learning how to use social media properly. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I think a lot of people have a fundamental misunderstanding and misconception of exactly what social media is. When you go back to the beginning and you think about Facebook and you think, what was it for? It was originally, yes, for posting pictures and quick thoughts and things like that you could share with friends and family. It really wasn't, from a consumer perspective, a business funnel. But when ads came into play with Facebook and then other social media outlets, Twitter, and Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, all of these other social media platforms, when they started monetizing their platforms, that's when it became all about business. It's really not even a social media platform anymore. It's a media platform. And I have been teaching artists and business owners for the last few years. The proper way to think about social media is in the confines and construct of a media empire, of almost like a network. Okay, if you own a network that's on Dish Network or Direct TV, You have many different forms of programming, many different kind of shows. You have comedies, you have dramas, you have daytime TV, you might have soap operas. You have all of these different things that live within your network. Well, on your network, you've got and should be considering all of these different platforms as different shows on your network, and you control the programming. The proper way to think about social media. Why do you even need to use social media? And what I've come up with a definition that I think it keeps me grounded. And it's the definition by which I base all of my social media activity on, because I don't use social media to find friends. I don't want any more friends. Those of you that know me best, you know me. I'm not that guy. I'm not Mr. Social. I use social media to enhance and grow my business for one major reason. And I want you to listen to this definition. This is what I think that you should use social media for. Social media as it stands right now should be you should be using your assets to build an audience, to gain influence, to monetize your experience. I'm going to say that one more time. When it comes to social media, use your assets to build an audience in order to gain influence and then monetize your experience. Some of you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this, but I'm going to break it down even further, because some of you may be going, well, Steve, what are your assets? What do you consider your assets? Well, they could be many different things. I'm going to list a few. Your style. There are a lot of people on social media that are popular because of their style. Your personality. You may have one of those, just really outgoing type A personalities that demand people's attention and demand that they listen. That's a very powerful asset to have, because you can gain that influence and then monetize that experience through using that personality. There are a lot of different people out there that do that. Grant Cardone, Gary Vee, Pat Flynn. There's a lot of people in that space that have that type A personality that use that to build their audience and gain influence. Your looks. Hey, as much as I know I've gotten my hand slapped over this one a few times, but I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of people that are monetizing and growing their business based on how they look. And even though people get mad at me when I talk about that and say it's so superficial, how long have we been using looks to sell products in this world? Forever, since the advent of advertising overall. And you can talk about people. It can be girls, it can be women, it can be men, it can be guys, it can be Calvin Klein underwear ads, it can be a Lamborghini, it can be a Lexus. We've used looks of products and treated people like products based on their looks. So yes, that is considered an asset. If you're a beautiful person, imagine if you had several of these assets. If you're really good looking, you have a great personality, and you've got some style, there's no stop to your business. The only person standing in your way at that point is you and your excuses as to why you're not doing social media properly. Some more assets: skills, knowledge, expertise, opinion. There are a lot of people who don't know their head from a hole in the ground, have an opinion, have built their business based on their opinion, even though they don't know what they're talking about. And I would name names, and I probably should, but I'm not going to. But you know who I'm talking about. We all have those people in our lives that have successful businesses based on them having an opinion, whether they're right, wrong, or even have any knowledge whatsoever in what they're talking about. A perfect example: there are many blogs and YouTube channels that deal with health and wellness and personal training and personal health. They don't have a degree. They don't have a personal training degree. But what did they have? They had the style, the personality, the look, and the opinion. Okay? You see what I'm saying here? So use your assets to build an audience, gain influence, and then monetize your experience. If you guys are not looking at social media as a revenue incoming generating stream, then that is why you're not succeeding on social media. Because I want to tell you something, and listen to this very closely. Social media isn't a numbers game. It is an engagement game. Create content for engagement, and the numbers will follow. Every artist, every songwriter, every business owner, every marketing director, all of these different people that I consult and that I deal with, when we start talking about social media, They are worried first and foremost about the numbers. We want to grow the numbers. We got to get the numbers up. Numbers don't matter. Engagement matters. Okay? Stop focusing on the numbers. I need 50,000 followers. Why? So that 3% of them can like or comment? You're not reaching all of those people. Please stop focusing on the numbers. The big number doesn't matter. The number of engagements matter. Okay, now I want to break down a couple of different areas, and this will hopefully get you thinking a little bit differently about social media, because one of the other things that people tell me a lot is I just don't understand. It seems like too much. There's too many platforms out there. I don't know which one I should really be striving to build and which one that I have the best personality for, which one fits me. There's just too many, and I don't have enough time to do all of them. Now, going back to talking about time, you are 100% correct. Nobody, unless you have a team around you, has enough time to put enough into every single one of the social media platforms to make them all successful. So here's what I want to talk about. What do I consider social media? I'm going to break this down into 3 different subsections. Number 1, your email list. If you are not building an email, how many times have I talked about this one? If you are not building an email list, you're going to fail, period. When I told you social media is not about the numbers, it's about engagement. The people that sign up, that come into your email funnel, they come into your email list, those are people that want to engage with you. Those are the most valuable people that you will ever have. And those are the people, and on their backs will you grow your business. So yes, I consider your email list a very vital part of your social media strategy. If you do not have an email list, you need to start one today. Come up with maybe some of you have heard the term lead magnet. Come up with something using your assets, whether it's style, personality, looks, skill, knowledge, expertise, or opinion. Use one of those to create a free piece of content that you want to give people in exchange for them joining your email list. Very powerful tool. That's why I've put it at number 1. Build your email list. It's so easy to do. Matter of fact, it's free. You can use companies like Constant Contact. You can use MailChimp, Aweber. There are several different companies out there that can make this very easy to get you to a position where you are recruiting an audience. Again, going back to using your assets to build an audience, gain influence, and then monetize your experience. A lot of different companies out there make this very affordable, if not completely teetotally free. Focus on your email list. Now I'm going to talk about social media as we all consider social media to be. This is where I'm going to start making it even easier for you to understand and think about an approach. I break social media down into 2 categories. 1, short form, and 2, long form. In my book, I consider short form social media content to be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. You take a picture, you post it, you put something clever, or you pose a question, or you answer a question. All of those things encourage engagement. Again, using your assets to drive engagement. Those are short form. You post something short on Facebook, or it could be a paragraph or 2, but it's something that people are going to scroll past, or they're going to read part of, and then they're going to get bored and they're going to move on. Short form, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, even really LinkedIn, you can put in there. Then you've got what I call long form social media content. That is your YouTube. That's live streaming. That's a podcast, or that's a blog. Something that goes way beyond just a quick post that people are going to see and thumb right past. Now, here's some tips. I want to give you 3 tips based on these 3 different ways to consider and think about social media: email list, short form, and long form. Here's what I want you to do to help you be more constructive and use your time more wisely and better. Stop thinking about all of them, because it is a full-time job. Thinking about, if you're trying to create a ton of content for short form and long form, you are going to burn yourself out, and you're not going to be of any use to yourself, your goals, and or the audience that you're trying to build. So tip 1, what I want you to do is pick one or two from each of these categories and go deep. So what does that mean? Short form is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. Pick one or two. I generally pick two. Like for me, my short form is Instagram and Facebook. Those are the two that I've gone in it. I don't like Twitter. I don't really use Twitter. I've got a TikTok. I don't use it. I've got Snapchat. Don't use it. I decided that for me, my age group, the age group and demographic of my potential audience, which we'll talk about in a minute, is a Facebook and Instagram audience. My audience isn't on Twitter. They're not on TikTok. They're not on Snapchat. Maybe they are, but they're not looking for my type of content. They're not looking for my assets on those platforms. Nobody wants to see Steve's assets, I can tell you. So pick one or two of those, your long form, YouTube, live streaming, podcast, and blog. Okay. Now, it's very difficult. I'm going to give you a little bonus tip here when it comes to long form, because all of those things are important. YouTube, live stream, podcast, blog. All those are very important. One way that you can maximize long form content is to do what I call creating pillar content. Then taking that pillar content and breaking it up into micro content. So if you want to do a YouTube video, maybe your YouTube video is a long form 20, 30-minute YouTube video that you can break up into shorter segments to maybe then talk about your YouTube video on a live stream. Then you can take those two pieces of content and break them up for podcast episodes or for different blog subjects. You can even then take that pillar content, break it into micro content, and share that micro content out over your short form social media outlets, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. Does that make sense to you? Create one piece of pillar content on Monday, then break that content down into micro content that then gets spread across your short form Instagram platforms. Don't worry about creating content for all of them and creating different content for all of them. If I had $1 for every time an artist or business owner, marketing director, whoever told me that I will ask, why don't you do this? I don't know what to post. Now I can feel the wheels turning because we've all said, I don't know what to post. I'm drawing a blank. I don't know. Well, you've got to start thinking about that. And I will also tell you this. We think harder about what to post than the people that are going to see it give it credit for. Take a picture of your coffee cup. Take a picture of your keyboard. Just something. You know, there's a lot of social media. The people that do well are creative, right? Again, using your assets. Creativity can definitely be an asset. Use your creativity and stop thinking about it so hard. Remove that thought process from getting you to actually start doing what you can be doing to grow your audience and gain influence. Now, when you pick one or two of your short form and one or two of your long form platforms, and you say, this is where I'm going to go in, maybe you're having a little problem and a little stumbling block going, okay, I don't know which two that I should choose. Here's how you choose. You want to match your demographics with the right platform to maximize your reach. If you are an artist or a business owner and your customer base is 18 to 34, then you need to focus on Instagram as one of your short form platforms. If your product skews a little younger or your service skews a little younger, then you want to look at Instagram, TikTok, or Snapchat because they have younger demographics. If you're a real estate agent or a restaurant or a bar or an artist that does what I call real music, then you want to look at Facebook because Facebook's demographic skews older, 25, 54, or even really the broader, better definition is 35 plus. There are more people, older people on Facebook. So you need to know the audience that you want to build. Then go after that audience using the right short form and long form content platforms. I can't tell you how important this is. You cannot just have a business and throw stuff out on Instagram and throw stuff out on Facebook or TikTok or anywhere else. Know the audience you're trying to gain. You need to have a very clear picture in your mind and definition of exactly what that customer looks like. Are they male, female? Are they families? Are they moms? Are they single women? Are they single men? Are they well educated? Does your product or service require somebody to have more expendable income than most other people? You need to know which platforms in social media are going to get your message in front of that particular audience. When you start thinking about social media in this terms, because one of the things you might be thinking right now, and this is the way that I said I think about it, you've got to think of social media in monetary terms. If I am going to pay for advertising, it is very important that I place that advertising in front of people who are more likely to buy and that can afford it. Those are the two secrets of advertising. Don't ever advertise in front of an audience that won't use it, doesn't have a use for it, or can't afford it. Even though maybe you're not doing paid advertising on social media, every post you make is an advertisement. It is an advertisement featuring your assets in order to build an audience, gain influence, and then monetize it. If every time you're thinking about social media, you aren't somehow thinking about how to monetize it, then you don't even need to be doing social media at all. Because if you think social media has anything to do with being social, you're wrong. It is all about monetizing. All right, tip number 2, be consistent and do not get distracted. I don't care which short form platforms you choose or which long form platforms you choose. Be consistent. What do I mean by being consistent? Now, this is going to sound like I'm getting anal, and I am, because it's this important. There are algorithms at play here with Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat, LinkedIn. Every single social media platform is employing an algorithm. In order for your content to be successful on that platform, you have to meet the parameters and definitions that work well and best with that platform's individual algorithm. Luckily, most of these platforms allow you to take a peek inside the algorithm, and they tell you what works and what doesn't work, especially with your content. So when you figure that out, be consistent. All of these platforms will tell you what day more people and what day and what time more people interact or engage with your content. That's when you need to post, right? So if it's Facebook, post at 8 o'clock in the morning, at noon, at 7 p.m. at night. And stick to a routine. Be consistent. If you want to do YouTube, then you need to upload on the same day at the same time every single upload, every single week. If you're doing one video a week, little quick thing into YouTube here, YouTube is most consumed on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you're following people on YouTube and following YouTube channels, you'll realize a lot of them have a set schedule and they release new videos on Tuesdays and on Thursdays. Some people like Monday and Friday. Wednesday, not a big day. So figure out what works and then be consistent. If you're going to upload one video a week, upload it on a particular day at a particular time. That way, the audience that you're gaining, the influence that you're gaining, these people count on it being every Tuesday at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Build consistency with the audience that you're trying to grow. So be consistent and don't get distracted. Come up with a plan. That you've got to have a strategy. When you're thinking about your social media and growing your business, you should be looking at it as if you're going to war and you need to have a plan and you need to know exactly how to execute that plan. Many of you are not succeeding because you do not look and have that mentality and that mindset about your approach to growing your business through social media. You're still under the misconception that it's social, and it's not. So you're going to war. Put the war paint on. Get a game plan together. You'll be so much better. Tip number 3 is do research and find the content that works. Google is the number 1 search engine in the world. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. You've got Quora as a resource out there, and you've got Ask the Public out there. If you don't know what to say and you don't know what people want to hear, because really, in all honesty, the key to growing an engaged audience is answering a question for them. People have questions. If you have the answers, they will listen. So you've got these resources out there. Do the research that it's required to know what, especially in your little niche, in your field. If it's real estate, go to Ask the Public and type in many different questions about real estate. You can even just type in real estate with Ask the Public, and it will give you the 400 most asked questions through Google and YouTube and other search engines as it relates to real estate. Then go, okay, I'm going to take the top 3 or 4 of these questions, and I'm going to create my social media this week over answering those top 4 questions. I'm going to create a piece of pillar content, then I'm going to create micro content from my pillar content that to filter out all across my short form and long form social media platforms to answer these 4 questions. Because again, people have questions. If you have answers, then you all of a sudden are starting to use your assets, your style, personality, looks, skill, knowledge, expertise, or opinion to build that audience by answering a question, which then lets you gain influence. Then you can monetize it. Because what do you do once you start having that audience come in? You should be sending them to your email list. And that's where the monetization process starts. So do the research, find out what people want to know, and answer that question. You already may be a professional or an expert or have a particular skill or knowledge in one area, and you may already know based on working with your existing clients what those questions are. Well, I can tell you, if your clients have those questions, a lot of other people do. Start answering them. That is your asset. So do the research and create content that works for the audience that you're trying to engage with. One of the other stumbling blocks that I run into with a lot of people talking about social media is they are scared to death of the ridicule and the hate that's going to come their way from negative comments, negative direct messages, and people telling you you're full of shit and you don't know what the fuck you're talking about and I hate you. And look, I'm going to tell you, the more haters you have, the more effective you're being. Look at it that way. Now, I know in the music business and a lot of creative aspects, we are so creative that it is almost impossible for us to put those things to the side, and we take everything personal. We see negative comments and we collapse on ourselves because we want everybody to love what we do so much. That's why we do it. But I'm telling you, the more haters you have, the more effective you're being. And when you do get those haters, make sure that you respond to every single one of them and absolutely kill them with kindness. Because nothing is a better return shot than stopping hate in its tracks and responding to those people with something positive. So yes, it's hard to see. It's frustrating. It gets us angry. It pisses us off. I'm human. My initial reaction is anger right away. But then I have to all right, I'm grab a cigarette, go outside, take a smoke, and then I'll reply. Do the little woo-saw and then reply. But also know that every time you get a little piece of hate or every time you get a negative comment or somebody being mean or somebody being rude or somebody trying to put you in your place, just remember that you're being effective and that what you're doing is actually working. Again, social media is not a numbers game, folks. It is an engagement game. Stop craving the numbers and start craving the engagement. I want to go back over and recap because this is so important. If you guys will come up with this strategy within this framework I'm creating, and you will do this for the next 30 days, I promise you will see your numbers go up. But most importantly, you will start seeing your engagement go through the roof. And that, the engagement, is how you build your business. Remember, when it comes to social media, use your assets to build an audience, to gain influence, and then monetize your experience. What are your assets? It can be style, personality, looks, skills, knowledge, expertise, opinion. Many different things can be an asset. Use those assets to build your audience. That audience will allow you to gain influence, and then you can monetize that experience. There are 3 things you should be thinking about when it comes to social media. Number 1 is your email list. Start building and growing your email list. Number 2 is short form social media content. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat. Long form, YouTube, live streams, podcasts, and blogs. If you're not doing any long form, that may be a crucial key to answering the problem that you're currently having. You need to be doing long form content. Then pick 1 or 2 of the short form platforms that you're going to go deep on, that you're going to go all in on. I'm going to commit my time to just these 2, and I'm going to use my assets to build my audience on these 2 platforms. Do the same thing with long form. Maybe you only want to pick one form of long form content, YouTube, a live stream weekly, or a podcast or a blog. Pick one of those. Take your pillar content, break it into micro content to use across your short form platforms. Remember, when you're picking your platforms, to pick the platforms that have a demographic that match your business or that match your goal, whether that's age, whether that's income or status. Make sure you're matching your content up on these social media platforms with the right demographic. Be consistent, don't get distracted, and do the research to find the content that's going to help you best use your assets to build an audience, to gain influence, and to monetize your experience. Again, I'm going to say it one more time. Social media isn't a numbers game. It is an engagement game. Put the tools that you've learned in today's podcast to start doing just that, growing engagement. And if the numbers are that important to you, I promise you, the more engagement you see, the more numbers you'll get. Guys, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. I hope so much that you are all healthy, that you're well. This has been a very trying time. I know everybody's locked in their house, locked away. It is a very difficult time. But I've said it a few times over the last couple of weeks. Don't look at this as a negative. You've been given some precious time. When I hear so often, Steve, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that. You have time now. Don't waste it sitting on the couch, binging shows on Netflix. Use this time to grow your business so when this is all over, you have the keys to the kingdom and you're that much further ahead of everybody else. So most importantly, stay safe. I'm going to tell you, I'm not sure when. It may be next week's episode, for the first episode of next week. I've got some really, really big news that I'm excited about and that I can't wait to share with you, but it's big, it's monumental, and I can't wait to share it with you. So be sure, don't miss next Tuesday's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. Until then, make sure, speaking of social media, you're following me everywhere at The Steve Freeman on social media. Join my email list to get tips and tricks like this more than just in the podcast. Go to thestevefreeman.com. And if you're listening on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, please leave us 5 stars and leave a written review. Guys, thank you for joining me for another episode. Until the next one, keep being creative, keep pressing the boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you next week.
Thanks for joining us for the Steve Freeman Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow Steve on social media at The Steve Freeman.